Okay, so this happened when I was around 6 years old or so. I was driving up to my Uncle Milo's farm with my parents for a week that included the 4th of July and my birthday. I was absolutely ecstatic the whole way there. Several of Milo's kids are at my grandparents' cabin, way the hell up in the UP, Michigan. It's a 200 plus mile detour. We had to go and pick them up. My dad decides to bug off to the farm with my brother because going up there will be a mission and it was already getting dark. Plus, I was being kind of obnoxious. My mother and I take the truck and drive up through the heavily forested boulder-ridden hills and old rock formations around the cabin. There was a full moon out and the stars were still breathtaking due to the distance away from any cities, so there was none of that light pollution. About 3 miles away from the cabin, we are approaching a ridgeline overlooking a small lake. We are coming around the bend. Out of nowhere, 3 baby bears come booking it straight down the road. I can hear their wailing even in the truck. My mom slows down and puts on her brights. Mama bear cannot be too far away. I love to observe animals and think about them. After a few minutes of driving slowly, I guess we missed Mama bear. We start up the incline that led up the bluff, and then we turn a corner. There was a huge owl in the middle of the road that ruffles its wings and stares into the brights, which she switched to low after we spotted it. My mom slows down to a crawl and honks at it from around 10 feet away. The owl just keeps on staring. It turns its head slightly. Really suddenly, the owl flies up and scrapes the windshield lightly with its claws, causing me to scream. I was really scared. We continued on. The road was fairly new. I could tell that the bluff had been neatly cut by explosives and the local ecosystem had not relocated on top of it yet. The road just felt really barren and devoid of life. My mom continued at a mediocre pace due to the fact that we were scared, and there was just 10 feet of rock and dirt in place of a guardrail between us and a several dozen-foot cliff. On the way down the cliff, a small landslide had blocked part of the road with rocks and a small tree. My mom stops the truck and tells me that she is going to go and pull the tree out of the road. She's a pretty strong woman. She reaches across to the glove compartment and pulls out this gigantic chrome handgun in a holster. She straps it on her hip and opens up the door. She successfully pulls the tree over the cliff and slides it down into the foliage. She walks back to the truck and then climbs in. When the door slams, she lets out the shriek. She hits the gas and jets forward. At the same time, I hear another horrifying sound that really sets me on edge. I don't know how else to describe it other than screaming, but like inhaling instead of exhaling. The truck swipes a boulder and knocks out a headlight shortly after, slowing us down. What the hell is going on? I look through the back window. My mom tells me to close my eyes and not to look. Screw that. I look anyway. I see a gigantic bear hauling ass towards us as the heavy truck struggles to get speed. I scream. It makes this really weird inhale scream once again. I realize that this bear, its head is all wrong. Its face was bony and bloody, and it had ragged looking fur too. It looked more like molting antlers than a bear face, except it was shaped like a bear. And its fucking mouth. I thought it had eaten a porcupine and gotten horribly mangled by quills, but that is when I realized that they were teeth. I remember it so damn vividly. I screamed and closed my eyes. My mom told me to hit the floor. My mom, still driving, pulled out the handgun and she shot twice. The first one misses completely. She was struggling to pay attention to the road and maneuver the car while operating the handgun at the same time. The second time, I could hear material get ripped away from that thing's mass. The thing shrieked again. We hit the sharp turn. The road goes between 2 hills and another cut bluff. My mom scraped the wall and broke off the side mirror on the passenger side. My mom floored it down the hill. That thing was still galloping towards us. The bullet did nothing. It was showing no signs of being too hurt to move and stopping. The road corrected north. We saw it follow around the curve as the road straightened out. We eventually lost it in the darkness and shadow coming from the trees. Neither of us spoke until we got to the cabin. My grandmother took one look at the vehicle and asked if we had seen that owl. My mom said yes, and my grandma just tutted like it was expected. I never really got an explanation for that. Okay, get ready for some creepy shit. This story happened to me and a few friends during a vacation. I was 18 years old at the time this happened. My friends and I decided to take a bro camping trip. This was me, my bro Michael, Lenny, and Darius. Darius mentions that his aunt has a vacation home out in Oxford that hasn't been used in around 3 years or so. Great. It's in the woods. We decide to go because, hey, free place to stay. Bro number 2 decides to bring his girlfriend, who, on another note, kind of ruined the trip, but I don't want to go into that. We suck it up, we pack our bags, and we head out. Around 2.5 hours later, we finally arrived at the place. It was your typical scary movie looking cabin, but the interior was super nice. It was fully furnished, the whole shebang. To say it hadn't been used in for years, it wasn't really dirty or anything. Day turned pretty quickly to night, and we decided to break out some drinks and do a little bit of beer pong. Bro number 2's girlfriend stumbles to the bathroom, but the beer pong continues. Suddenly, the most startling shriek assaults my eardrum from the bathroom. My bro's girlfriend, let's call her Lacey, she sprints from the hallway. Her face is as white as my ass. She says that she saw a woman at the end of the hallway in a white sleeping gown. We're a little bit confused, but we are in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, so we are about to get the hell out of there. Out of nowhere, there is a knock at the door. There are maybe 3 or 4 other locals within 5 to 6 miles from the cabin. Aside from that, there is no one anywhere near. It would take hours of walking. So who the hell is this outside, knocking on the door unannounced at this time? Darius stumbles over to the door and opens it up. It's a very strange, eerie-looking woman. She's not wearing a white gown though. She's completely expressionless. She asks us if she could rest on the couch for a while and just use the phone. We're a little hesitant. She mentions that she knows Shannon, that's my bro's aunt who owns the place. She mentions she's just tired and got a little bit lost and just needs a bit of help. We let out a sigh of relief, yet there's still something off. Not to mention the woman that Lacey claims to have seen. We decide to let the woman in. She claims that she knows bro's aunt well. They were supposedly roommates in college. I'm really paranoid, and I do not buy into that at all. I am pretty much the only one shitting my pants about the current situation, and about whatever the hell Lacey saw. Darius and Lenny engage in some conversation with the woman, trying to be polite and all that kind of stuff. They ask her what her name is, but she isn't really talking all that much. I'm sort of just pacing in the dining room in utter confusion. And then I'm suddenly thinking, oh shit, where the hell is Michael? Everyone just kind of forgot about him. Lenny mentions that Michael had to vomit and went to the bathroom. I peek my head around the corner towards the hallway. The bathroom door is closed with the light on, so he has to be in there. Lenny and Darius walk toward the bathroom. I follow along. They were knocking on the door. Michael is groaning inside, puking his brains out from the booze. Darius is texting his aunt about the woman that's on the couch. The only Shannon I knew was a friend of mine in grade school. I didn't know anyone like that or of that description in college. Darius pretty nonchalantly pulls me aside. He tells me I have to tell her to leave. No problem. I turn around, but she's gone. Darius is now freaking the hell out. Lenny is nowhere to be found. Suddenly, We hear water running from the kitchen. I run into the kitchen. Meanwhile, Darius's phone is going off. Lenny is in the kitchen doing the damn dishes. I yank his shirt and yell at him, asking where the lady went. His face is expressionless and white, and he just suddenly starts crying after staring off into space for a while, like he just suddenly came back to consciousness. He's still absent-mindedly scrubbing the dish while he's saying, "Can we please leave? Please?" There are tears strolling down his face while he's scrubbing the dish. I'm asking him what the hell is wrong with him, but he just stops responding after that. I just try my best to calm him down. Darius runs into the kitchen. He says he just got off the phone with his aunt, who told us that we should leave ASAP, that she would explain later. We pack our shit and get Michael out of the bathroom. He is passed out and completely white. Lacey is having a panic attack. Darius and Lenny run towards the basement to get the rest of their stuff. I am on the couch with Lacey, just trying to calm her down. She finally calms down. We regroup and head outside. We toss Michael in the back of my Jeep and buckle up. I turn on my headlights that shine on the window of the cabin. And when they hit the window, we see the face of that woman with that same expressionless face just staring at me. The lights are completely out in the cabin, so we can just make out her face and her torso. She is wearing a white sleeping gown now. Lacey starts crying and having another panic attack. I put it in reverse and get us the hell out of there. I have not talked to Lenny since that evening. I have no clue what he does or where he has been. I keep in contact with Darius while he works in Boston, but I am still best friends with Michael to this day, who has literally no clue what happened even after telling him. We spoke with Darius's aunt, who told us that 15 years ago, this same exact woman visited her cabin while she, Shannon, and her friends were vacationing there. She asked for the exact same thing, to rest on the couch and use the phone, but they refused to let her inside. So, my family owns a big-ass farm in northern Peru. My family have been there since 1870, with some of the first Italian colonies in the country. This farm is so big, it has its own forest, where messed up stuff always happens. My family found Inca ruins that they had to destroy in order to keep the government out of our lands. They have found drug dealers' corpses left out in the woods, parts of human bodies, etc. It's a very messed up place, since there is virtually no police authorities in there for most of the time. And the little that there are were always corrupted police officers taking bribes and stuff like that. But the most messed up part of the story is that of my uncle during the 1940s, who apparently fought the devil in person, but was saved by a pack of guardian dogs that roam around the farm during the night. Apparently, every time he punched the devil or shot at him, the devil did not take any damage. He only got scared and left because of the dogs. It was such a big deal that it became a legend among the locals. He told this to everyone he could, to family, and it has passed down since then. Well, it was during the 1940s in Peru. At the time, we were having a war against Ecuador, and big farm producers were having the time of their lives making supply contracts with the government. Since my family settled in Lima, capital of the country since the 1930s, they needed to send someone from the family to take care of business. My great-grandpa decided he was going to send his eldest son, Enrico, my uncle. Being charged with that task, Enrico traveled to the farm. This farm is located near a town called Guadalupe, in the province of La Libertad. Guadalupe is a poor town, and a lot of people from there used to, and still do, work for us. At the arrival of Enrico, lots of people talked to him about some strange stuff happening on the farm, like animals dying inexplicably, and some workers dying in strange accidents. In order to not make things worse, the capataz, the manager of the farm, told my uncle that he actually found pictures of our family members in the forest. Among these things He also found some typical black candles made of animal fat, and he said he also found some things that are used in pacts with the devil, performed by a black priest. Enrico, being the badass that he thought he was, he did not care about those things and began to put some order, laying some suspects off their duties. Some weeks passed by, and Enrico noticed that his farm animals' deaths became more and more usual. He got the animals checked on by a vet, but apparently there was nothing wrong with them. There was no explanation for their sudden deaths. He put some security in the stables at night, but the animals were still found dead in the morning. It got worse at that point. The family had to buy more animals from other farms in order to make the quota of the supply contracts. Enrico was getting angrier and angrier, and he decided to make night rounds around the farm himself with some of their employees. When I say that this farm is big, I mean really, really big, like 500 square kilometers, and it's now even bigger since we started buying some other farms all around. At one point, the property had its own railroad with a functioning train. Well, no matter what precautions Enrico took, stuff still happened there on a daily basis. Here's a picture on screen now of the farm. That hill/small mountain that you see in the background is also part of it. It holds a small church, a radio antenna for the local radio station, some pig and horse stables, and a monument for the fallen during the 70s and 80s terrorism period that we had here in Peru. One day, things got really out of control. This time it was not an animal death that put the entire farm on alarm. The capataz was found dead at the edge of the farm woods. I read about this particular death in some of the newspaper's archive of the farm, and I asked my father, Enrico's brother, just to clarify who is who in the story about this incident. He said that the capataz was attacked by a mountain lion. Because of the nature of his wounds, the dude was ripped apart. He had slash marks all down him and had bits of his skin ripped and clawed off. But apparently, no mountain lions have been seen in that part of the country for ages, so I don't know. I guess pieces of the story will start to make sense the more I tell you. Enrico immediately took extreme measures. He went to the local shaman and told him what was happening on the farm since his arrival there. The shaman asked for permission to take a look at the property, and after that, he came to the conclusion that the family was cursed. In this country, there's a particular, I don't know how to call it, a spell or a pact with the devil, where you can summon the devil itself or a demon to kill a person in exchange of your soul. This is in Satanism. The practice was quite common in more rural areas. We never knew who made this pact. We suspect it was other farmers around that claim that some of our property belonged to them. My father personally thinks the pact was made by some workers, since the family at the time kept them in really shitty, inhuman conditions, almost as slaves basically. Anyway, Enrico asked the shaman what he could do to fix this, how to undo this pact. He responded that he could do two things: either die and fulfill the pact, or win a battle against him, the demon or devil. I know it sounds silly, but that's how things are. That's the only way to break it. Since Enrico was a badass who did not really believe in any of this bullshit, he continued to make his night rounds, but this time, he took some of the guardian dogs with him in case shit got real. These were dogs who looked over the farm and protected the horses from outside invaders, people looking to cause trouble, or to try and scare off any animals looking for a meal. As I told you before, what happened to him eventually became a local legend, so take it as you wish. I used to believe that it was all bullshit just to scare me and my cousins, just so that we would not misbehave or try to escape at night while we were visiting the farm. But through the years, and after experiencing some really creepy stuff here myself, it kinda convinced me that there is a great chance that this was all true. Enrico went out this particular night by himself to make his rounds alone. I don't know why, really. I know that there were some employees making their night round at the other side of the farm as usual. This time, he took some guardian dogs with him. He decided to cross the mountain to get to the woods where they found the farm animals' corpses. Enrico was a big guy, a very muscular kind of guy. Since we are all tall in my family, I guess Enrico was about 1.9 meters or maybe taller. He was arrogant too. My father told me that he was a piece of shit, but at least at that time, everyone in the family thought that he was kind-hearted and just a spoiled kid. Anyway, he crossed the mountain with his horse and dogs and went into the woods. At this point, the dogs began to feel uneasy, with some of them crying. I mean, big guard dogs, completely turning into pussies in a matter of seconds. Guard dogs who are used to fending off people, fending off animals, and now just turning into this. He continued heading east in order to make it out of the woods. That would take him at least an hour or two, but finally he made it. As he began to go out of the woods, he saw a Shalan. A Shalan is a typical farm worker in northern Peru. By tradition, they dress in all white. White pants, white shirt, and a big white cape, kind of poncho-like, to protect them when it's cold. And most importantly, a big hat, like a Mexican sombrero. You can Google Shalan if you want. Enrico saw this guy dressed like this, but there was something really odd about him. First, his clothes were not all white, but actually all black, and he was sporting boots with silver points on them. Second thing, he was not the typical, average North Peruvian guy. The typical Peruvian guy looks like a Mexican with tan skin and really dark hair, and really short. Third, when Enrico looked at this guy's face, he noticed that despite being a handsome kind of Nordic or Slavic guy, his teeth were all gold. The overall look of this guy, like, imagine he was like a Slav gangsta, dressed as V from Vendetta, a really tall guy with some facial features not usual to that part of the country. At this point, the dogs were shitting themselves, and they had begun to back away and run away from there. Enrico got his shit together and asked the guy who he was and what he was doing on his property. The guy did not say anything. All he did was turn and stare at Enrico, and then he began to walk towards him without making any expression whatsoever. Enrico pointed at him with his hunting rifle, and he shot at his chest. Guess what? Nothing happened. When he realized what he was dealing with, he tried to get on his horse, but the animal went crazy and ran away too. The thing damn near kicked him. I think it caught him in the leg or something, and made it so that running away was not really a possibility anymore. He was lucky he did not get kicked anywhere more fatal. He tried to punch the guy, as he really had no other options, but as he told the family, every time he punched the man in the stomach or in the face, it felt like he was punching a pillow, like his punch was being absorbed. When he would punch, he described it as like he was punching into water, but without the surface tension. All he would feel is his fist being like engulfed with something, and it being really soft. Nothing would happen to this guy at all, not with the bullet, not with his fist. When this thing walked towards Enrico and attacked him, all he would do was push him away with this incredible force, and it would just send him flying, but it was like he was holding back and trying not to hurt him, at least not yet. It was like he was demonstrating his force, as if to scare him away. This would go on for a little while, and every time Enrico tried to do any kind of damage, it was worthless, and every time this guy attacked Enrico, he would only push him several meters away with an incredible force over and over again. Enrico was running out of options, so he stopped fighting, and he asked the man, "What do you want from me?" And the guy responded to him, and he said, "Your damn family." As this story has been told in our family since it happened, many of the details are not very clear to me. I only know that when Enrico was getting tired of fighting him, he either gave up and faced the fact that he was going to die, or this guy grabbed him, almost putting him down onto the floor. The thing is that Enrico was being held against the ground and saw this guy pulling a silver knife out of his cape or poncho, ready to stab him to death, when Enrico called his dogs by whistle. It was kind of a last-ditch thing. He didn't think the dogs would come back, since they had already been scared off. But the dogs did come back, and they ran over to fuck the guy up and defend him. My dad says that when the guy saw the dogs charging at him, he got up as quick as possible and began to scream with this unnatural voice. Whatever that means, that's the only way it was told to me, that he screamed with a voice that was not human. The dogs took him down and attacked him. They didn't seem to do any damage either, but the guy disappeared. He ran away. When he screamed and had this unnatural voice, it apparently made the dogs freeze on the spot, not literally, but it was like they were running against a strong wind and were barely making any headway. And then the guy just took off into the woods and disappeared. Enrico was found the next morning at the edge of the wood. He passed out due to all of the shit he saw. He said that once the thing started screaming, he was struggling to keep his eyes open, and then everything just went black. The police tried to find the guy and looked for him for weeks, but they found nothing or anyone that matched his description. Enrico packed up all of his stuff and left to Lima, never to return to the farm again. In fact, after that, the family took about 20 years to return to the farm. They would only visit for very short periods, just to take care of business and make sure it was running properly. They would always have an intermediary and someone to run the farm for them. What is important in this story is that Enrico was during his lifetime apparently a bit of a douchebag. He always cheated on his wife. He repeatedly hit his children and his wife too. He got to be president of an important bank in Peru, only to be in prison for fraud. He even ripped off his own family. So when the devil or a demon shows up in front of you, demanding your life and your family's lives, maybe it's not because you were the nicest person ever. But that is not all. Enrico died years later, in the 1960s, in the most messed up way that you can imagine. The family won't talk about it all that much, but I know it's true. I've seen newspapers of the report. But Enrico was found in his beach house, stabbed in the face to death. Robbery was ruled out by the authorities since nothing of value was taken out of the house. Nothing was damaged or stolen. And it seemed like whoever did it did not even break their way in. Whatever the hell happened to Enrico, it remains completely unclear to this day. They did not find signs of a struggle in his house or anything like that. No doors were jammed or found broken. There was nothing missing, nothing broken on the floor, and that was that. Nobody heard anything either. It could have been a family member or a friend, since his house was pretty well protected by security, and security gave witness statements saying that no one had visited him during the day, that he was the only person inside the house. His story is now a local legend. Some local men have said that they have seen that same man in black, dressed as a shaman, messing around the farm. What worries me the most is what he said. I want your damn family. I'm a member of that family too, or maybe it only extends to certain people who were involved in the slavery and the messed up parts of the farm. I don't know. Maybe the family really is cursed. Okay, so I've shared this before, but I'm going to paraphrase because I can't remember exactly what I wrote. This happened to me when I was extremely young. I woke up pretty late one night to go to the bathroom. Almost directly across from the bathroom is a guest room with an old antique bed that is raised off of the ground so that you can see pretty well under it, especially at my height. I finished taking a piss and I headed out the bathroom door. I looked into the guest room and I could see a little gremlin-looking thing underneath the bed with these black eyes, long sharp teeth, and claws staring at me. I stared at the thing for just a minute, and I kinda got really excited, wanting to play with it, since I'm young, and I did not really think anything of it at first. It looked kind of like a fairy tale creature. I get excited and wave at the thing, and then it puts its front finger out, beckoning me to come closer. At this, I start to get really uncomfortable, and I feel this sense of dread coming across me. I suddenly realize that something is wrong, that this thing should not exist. I run screaming to my parents' room while crying. They check the room, and they find that nothing is there. They tell me that I am just seeing things, but I know what I saw. I slept in bed with my parents for a month before I finally felt comfortable enough to sleep in my own room again. Fast forward years later, when I've kind of forgotten about everything, my little cousins come over to visit. They were playing in the room, and I hear one of them mention the little man underneath the bed. I freaked out and carried them both out of the room in a panic, and I locked it up. I don't know what it was, but that really stuck with me. I have no idea what happened, and now I'm a grown man and I am still scared.